Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're looking ahead, way ahead.
Yeah.
We've got a report here that dives into potential changes society might see in the future, and it's pretty mind-blowing stuff. We're talking everything from crazy new tech to how our social structures could totally shift, not to mention the environmental stuff we've got to face.
It's really fascinating stuff. It's not about like predicting the future exactly, but it gets you thinking about, what could be out there and the choices we'll all have to make.
Absolutely. So this report breaks things down into four big buckets. New technologies, how society itself can change, the environmental realities, and the ethical dilemmas we're going to bump into along the way.
Right.
Let's start with the tech stuff, because that's always exciting.
For sure. The report dives right into the deep end, starting with AI, artificial intelligence. And we're not talking about just like your basic Siri or Alexa here. Think about a world where AI is so smart, it manages almost your whole life.
Okay, hold on. That sounds kind of amazing and kind of scary all at the same time.
Right. I mean, no more stressing over schedules or like forgetting to grab milk at the store. But then you've got to wonder, what are the downsides?
Exactly.
The report talks about how, if everything's automated with AI, that changes everything. Manufacturing, healthcare, even like how we deliver packages. It could be super efficient, maybe even cheaper. But then what happens to people's jobs?
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Totally.
It's not just jobs going poof. It's like, will people even have the right skills for this new world?
Exactly. The report really stresses this idea that in the future, the most important skills are going to be, stuff machines can't do. Being able to adapt to new situations, thinking critically, being creative, all that human stuff.
So it's like we've got to evolve right alongside the AI.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's AI. What else is in this tech crystal ball?
Well, how about some space exploration? And not just sending up a few satellites. I'm talking colonizing Mars, mining asteroids, stuff we used to just see in movies.
Space exploration, man, always gets me pumped. It's like the ultimate frontier. But I'm guessing there are some pretty big hurdles with all that.
Oh, yeah, tons. The report talks about all the ethical and logistical headaches, who gets to go to space, who's in charge out there. How do we make sure we're not just repeating the same mistakes we've made on Earth? It's a lot to figure out.
Like opening a whole new can of worms, but a super exciting can of worms.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about robots taking over and humans living on Mars. Let's bring it back down to Earth for a second, to biotechnology. The report highlights stuff like CRISPR, this gene editing tech that could actually wipe out diseases we inherit.
Whoa, wait, are you serious? Like getting rid of diseases that have been around forever?
It's what they're saying. It's pretty profound when you think about it. But like any powerful tool, there's a flip side. The report also talks about people living way longer, like past 100 is a regular thing. What does that do to society, our healthcare systems, even how we think about life and death itself?
It's like, what would that world even look like? Families, work, retirement, everything would change.
Exactly. And those are the kinds of questions this report is pushing us to think about. Yeah, it's like all this tech stuff doesn't just happen in a bubble. It's going to totally change like the fabric of society, right? And one of the biggest things, obviously, is how we work.
I think that's on everyone's mind, right? Like, are robots going to take all our jobs? What will we even do?
Right. And this report doesn't sugarcoat it. It talks about the gig economy becoming the norm. More remote work could mean some folks have more flexibility, but less security too, right?
Yeah.
Benefits, safety nets, all that gets tricky.
So maybe we're trading, like, stability for freedom. How does society even adapt to that?
That's where this idea of universal basic income comes in. UBI, they call it. Some people think it might actually be necessary if automation really takes off.
UBI. Yeah. Okay, gotta admit, I'm not totally up to speed on that one. What's the deal?
So basically, it's like everyone gets a regular payment from the government, no matter what, even if they don't have a job. The idea is to give people a safety net, especially if those traditional jobs are disappearing left and right.
Interesting. But I bet there are some folks who aren't too keen on that idea.
Oh, for sure. Like, how much would it even cost? Would people just stop working altogether? It's complicated, no easy answers. But we've got to at least be talking about it, right?
No doubt. It makes you really think about what work even means in a world that's changing this fast.
Exactly. And one thing's for sure, no matter how jobs change, the skills that'll matter most are the ones robots can't steal, right? Adaptability, critical thinking, that creative spark, the stuff that makes us human.
It's a good reminder to never stop learning. Always got to be evolving, right?
Totally.
So that's the future of work, but I'm guessing this tech revolution touches everything, right? Even like how our kids learn.
Yeah, the report gets into that too, and it's pretty wild. Imagine personalized learning powered by AI and VR. No more one-size-fits-all classrooms. Your AI tutor designs lessons just for you. And with VR, you could be like in a historical event or a science experiment.
Okay, that sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. But what about teachers? Where do they fit in if AI is running the classroom?
That's the key, right? Tech can be an amazing tool, but it can't replace human connection. Teachers would become more like guides, helping students navigate this new world of learning.
Again, finding that balance seems to be the theme, right? Tech, India, human touch.
For sure. And speaking of human connection, we can't forget about families, relationships, all that. The report talks about how, with tech changing everything so fast, we'll probably see more non-traditional families, and like we said before, people living a lot longer. What does that world look like?
Right. Imagine if everyone's living past 100. Maybe multi-generational households become normal. That comes with its own set of challenges and benefits. And then there's elder care. How do we take care of everyone as they age?
Big questions. And then you've got the whole social side of it, too. How does work change? Retirement. I mean, what happens to our whole idea of like life and death when people are living that long? It's deep stuff.
It really is. But on that note, maybe we should shift gears to the environment, because this report doesn't hold back on the challenges there.
Nope, not at all. Climate change, obviously, is the big one. The report lays it out pretty starkly. If we don't get our act together, rising sea levels, crazy weather, mass migrations, resource shortages, it's a reality check for sure.
It's easy to feel kind of helpless, right? Like, what can one person even do in the face of all that?
Well, that's where the report gets a little more optimistic. It says, yeah, the challenges are huge, but we can still make a difference. Sustainable living, cutting our carbon footprints, supporting businesses that care about the planet. It all adds up.
So individual actions do matter.
They totally do, especially when millions of people are doing them.
Right. Power in numbers.
Exactly. And it's not just about us doing our own little thing. It's got to be a global effort, right? Climate change affects everyone, so we need countries working together to cut emissions, invest in renewable energy, protect those ecosystems that are in danger.
It's a reminder that we're all connected in this, you know?
Absolutely. And aside from climate change, there's the whole issue of resources, especially water and food. With more people on the planet, the demand keeps going up.
So how do we make sure everyone has enough to survive?
That's where innovation comes in. The report talks about how we need better agriculture, smarter water management, even desalination to keep up. Plus, there's this idea of a circular economy where we reuse and recycle everything instead of just throwing it away.
Got to change our whole mindset, right? About consumption and waste.
We do. And while we're on the topic of preserving stuff, we can't forget biodiversity. We're losing plants and animals like crazy, and that messes up the whole planet, you know?
It's sad, all those species going extinct. Is there any hope of turning things around?
There is. The report talks about how tech can actually help with conservation efforts, tracking animal populations, creating like artificial ecosystems to replace what's been lost. And of course, protecting the ecosystems we still have, reducing our impact on nature.
It's good to hear that people are working on it.
Yeah.
But, you know, with all this talk of tech and saving the planet, I got to wonder about the ethical side of things.
Right, you hit the nail on the head. The report gets into that too. And maybe the biggest ethical dilemma is this whole data privacy and surveillance thing. Governments and companies are collecting tons of data about us, so how do we protect our privacy and all that?
It's a tough one. Security versus privacy. Where's the line?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about each of us individually. It's like, could data be used to discriminate against certain groups? Or to manipulate people? It's kind of scary when you think about it.
No doubt. The more advanced we get, the trickier these questions become.
That's the truth. And the report doesn't pretend to have all the answers. It's more about getting us to think about these things, have those hard conversations about what kind of future we want.
So it's a call to action, not just a prediction.
Exactly.
Well, this has certainly been a deep dive, and we're not done yet. There's one more big piece of this report we need to talk about. Solutions. A glimmer of hope, maybe. Yes. We'll get into all that in the final part of our deep dive. All right, welcome back for the last part of our deep dive. We've talked about some pretty heavy stuff, AI, climate change, you know, all the ethical dilemmas. But I'm hoping this report has some good news for us, some solutions, something to feel optimistic about.
It does, actually. The report doesn't leave us in a pit of despair. It's like, yeah, things are tough, but humans are pretty good at solving problems. There's a lot of potential for positive change.
Okay, good. Because sometimes it feels like, well, where do we even start? It's all so overwhelming.
Well, one of the big things the report highlights is global collaboration. A lot of these challenges, climate change, pandemics, lack of resources, those don't stop at borders. It's got to be a team effort to solve them.
Right, like what happens on one side of the world affects everyone eventually. We're all connected.
Exactly. And it's not just countries, it's scientists, businesses, regular people, everyone working together, sharing ideas, resources, all of that. The problems are complicated, but humans are pretty clever too.
This report seems to have faith that we can, innovate our way out of this mess.
It does, and it points to some cool stuff that's already happening, like in renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal. Huge progress there. And in agriculture, more and more people are moving towards sustainable farming, which helps the planet A&D make sure we have enough food.
So there's hope. But just inventing new stuff isn't enough, right? We've got to make sure everyone benefits and that it's all done ethically.
Oh, absolutely. The report stresses that big time. Equal access to resources, opportunity for everyone. That's got to be the goal. And we need good governance, transparent decision making, putting people and the planet first.
Finding that balance again.
Yeah,
Progress and responsibility, both are important.
exactly. And at the end of the day, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's what we make it through the choices we make right now.
That's a powerful thought. We actually have a say in this,
Yeah.
which is exciting, but also a little scary, to be honest.
It is, for sure. But it's also empowering, right? We're not just along for the ride. We can steer things in the right direction. We can create a future that's better for everyone, more sustainable, more fair, all of that.
This deep dive has been, well, it's been a lot. What would you say was the biggest takeaway for you from this report?
For me, it's that focus on hope and the power of working together. We've got big problems, no doubt, but we can solve them if we put our minds to it, if we're willing to innovate and make good choices.
I agree. It's been a wild ride exploring all these possibilities, the good and the bad. But I gotta say, I'm walking away feeling more optimistic. We can do this. We can build a better future. Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. Keep exploring these ideas, keep asking the tough questions, and let's work together to make that brighter future a reality. Until next time, take care.